Joseph. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm super pumped to talk to you. How's everything going your way?
Everything's good. Besides these renos causing me a little bit of a problem with just this one sheet of wall, but everything else is good. I like being on the other side of this. I'm usually on your side.
I know, dude. No, this is cool because kind of give people listening a little context here. Like you and I connected a couple months ago, and I was actually on your podcast, which everyone listening needs to go check it out. But yeah, super dope to reconnect with you, man.
Yeah, for sure. I saw the type of people you were having on and figured I'd be a good fit to share some insight as well.
No question. Yeah, I'm pumped to have this conversation. Are you still in Toronto?
Yeah, I live about like 30 minutes outside of Toronto,
Okay.
but
How's every,
still fairly large city, still like 700,000.
yeah, how's everything been going up there with COVID? I know you guys have had stricter, lockdowns than we have here in the States.
Yeah, so I think July 11th or something like that is when they fully, like they called it fully open, but it's not fully open. There's still restrictions. So uh that's where we're at pretty much. But the cases are starting to go back up. So knowing Canada, they'll probably lock us down soon.
Mm, Golly, it's tough. But this is kind of an interesting segue into what we're talking about. No matter what's going on, I think it's super important that if you have a dream, a passion, a vision, or something on your heart, like you got to keep grinding. Like there's no excuse around that. And so that's what you've done. And even in the midst of the pandemic and COVID, like you've crushed it and you've grown an incredible media platform. Listen to this one. So yeah, I really just want to jump into that, man. I want to hear more about how that started, even how you came up with the name with that.
Yeah, so basically, first of all, Mom, if you hear this, I'm sorry, but I was high as shit one day in my room at college, and I was done with sports and everything, and really just at school didn't know what I wanted to do. I was taking sport management to try and stay involved with sports because even now, like watching TV, I don't watch TV. The only thing I'm watching is sports 24/7, and my girlfriend gets mad sometimes because that's literally the only thing I watch is sports. I'll even watch curling and golf. Like as long as sports are on, I'm fine. So I was trying to stay involved somehow. And one night, just sitting in my room and came up with the idea. Maybe I started with music first, which was strange because at the time I was making some beats for like EDM beats and that sort of thing when dance music was pretty big. So I was doing that and started. It actually started with the name Under the Radar, and I was gonna focus on like underground artists or artists who haven't blown up yet, or artists that no one's heard of. And then as the weeks went on, I think it took about 2 or 3 months, and I was just like, you know what, like there's so many just straight music pages and sites that it would be hard to just get into it and grow that quick. And growing up playing sports my whole life, and knowing the importance of music while playing sports, um, I just sat there one day and had the idea, why don't I just put the two together? Because no one's put the two together before, but they go together so well, right? So that's basically how it started. And then once I had that idea, I ended up changing the name because when we started it, I did it with a couple of my roommates, and you know how it goes, like starting with people, they stop doing it and don't want to do it anymore. So I kind of just kept it going, changed the name, blended the two together, and I asked for some opinions on, like, what do you think about putting the two together? Do you think it's a good idea, or should it stay separate? And honestly, a lot of the replies I got were, "Don't do it," because they're separate things, right? Like, don't blend it together. And I didn't listen. Obviously, I did it anyways. But I think it's turned out pretty well so far.
No question. Yeah, and it definitely has. I think it's super unique. So obviously you've seen a lot of changes since you started to now. If you had to describe the platform right now, like how would you quick elevator pitch, like what do you tell people, like what have you created?
Basically, I just tell them it's a media outlet with everything music and sports, and that's really what it is. You can find all sports. Like if you go to our page, you'll find posts about every sport. We try to balance it out, especially with the five major sports: soccer, football, basketball, baseball, hockey. I know hockey is mainly up here, but I know there's some Americans down there that like it. So I try to focus on that, and then even music. Hip hop's obviously the dominant one. They're the ones who like showcasing all their stuff, and the drama is always in the hip hop scene. So they always have the most news. But when we do find the news for pop or country or something like that, we'll post that too. So it's really everything music and sports really covers all of it.
No, it's super cool, and I like the balance there you have with not only like creating and producing and repurposing content that is related to, sports, music, but you have a great mix of like factual news and like stuff that's going on, but also kind of the entertainment side. And I'm sure,
Right.
we can dive into that a little bit later why you've strategically probably chosen to do that. But I enjoy it because it's a nice mix. It's not just strictly news, it's not strictly entertainment. You kind of get the best of all things there.
Right. And that's what I found with even now looking at other sports pages or even music pages, a lot of them tend to just post just the news and only the news, which everyone can post the news, right? Anyone who has even the minimum knowledge with Photoshop can go and type on a photo and post the news.
Mhm.
So I really just wanted to I guess find some entertaining content to help other people like it a little more, and then they get the news at the same time, right? So they're entertained and informed. And a lot of the content that I've been going after is relatable stuff, so people can relate to it, whether it's even if it's a soccer post, it'll be relatable to other sports, right? So you find a way to keep people involved and engaged, right? Because engagement is the main thing on social media.
Yeah, no question. Would you say, I know you kind of gave us a really unique story of kind of how it started, but would you say even prior to those days in college that you kind of had an entrepreneurial mindset, or is this something that kind of just stemmed from that season of life where you're like, what do I want to do? I kind of just want to explore my own opportunity.
Um, I'd say I've had an entrepreneurial mindset probably my whole life. Like my parents started their own business. They had a tuxedo shop. My dad still runs it, but when my parents split up, my mom kind of just decided to leave it to him and let him keep doing it. So he does that. And anytime, like even in high school, if I was working for someone else, I was miserable, bro. Like I hated it. Even coming out of college, because I worked a job for a while just to get this going, and it was a grind for real. It mentally I was drained just going there and doing that. Like I don't know what it is, but working under someone else just was never for me.
Yeah, no, that's interesting you say that. It's a question I like to ask like people that have founded brands and companies because a lot of times, not every time, but what I've seen is that it's kind of a mix of both exposure and experience. And that's kind of shaped, your mindset. And it's hard, like you said, like once you kind of get a taste of someone around you being an entrepreneur, you kind of get a feel for it yourself. It's hard to go back because you just realize the freedom there. And then
Right.
once you're driven by a passion or a purpose, it's like you just have to explore it and you have to grind, like you said, even if you're working another job or you just got to figure it out.
Yeah. And like that's all I knew really growing up, because they had their own tuxedo company. So I really spent, if I wasn't playing sports or they didn't have to take me to sports, we were pretty much hanging out at the store. Just me and my sister would scooter around the store or something, find a way to stay busy while they were working. So that's really all I knew. And you realize even when you go work another job that like your time is so valuable, and working for someone else, you lose a lot of time, and it might not even be something you enjoy. So if you're not enjoying it, why would you keep doing it and not take the risk, or at least try to build your own thing where you have more freedom? Or even if you work longer days doing what you love, at least it's what you love, and you're passionate about it, so you won't be miserable. You'll still have fun doing it.
Dude, that's so good. I totally agree with you. Like I think this is where you and I really connected off the bat, is there was this common ground of just like hustler, grinder, like we love to work. And I think that's what, like, it's cool. You meet people that you don't really know super well, and then you kind of connect on different, qualities. But that's something I've always admired about you, and your willingness to just put your head down and grind and just make it happen. And then it's so cool. Like, we can talk about this now. Cause I mean, even when I was on your podcast a couple months ago, like you had what, like 13,000 followers or something at the time, maybe more than that.
I think it was like 19, 20,000. Yeah.
Yeah, 19 or 20. And now, I mean, look at where you are now. And it's not all about the numbers, but I mean, you've consistently put in that work and you've consistently seen, success with that.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, I think I told you this before. This is our second account because I had one that was 36,000, and some pretty wild stuff happened with that, and we lost it. But when that happened, I realized, like, you had to make a choice, right? It's either you restart and grind harder than you were before, or you quit and go do something else. But when it happened, I really just took like a day, thought about what I wanted to do, uh, thought maybe could I do anything else? Did I want to go work for someone else? And at the end of the day, I was like, no, like I'm not going back to work for someone else. I'll just restart and try and grow it bigger than I did before. And the last account took 4.5 years to get to 36,000, and this account is at 61,000, and it's only been 7 months. So
That's incredible.
it really was kind of a blessing in disguise, but I think it also kicked me in the butt a little bit. And you obviously had to work a little harder to get past where you were in that short of amount of time. So it's worked out pretty well. But I've always found, even in sports, like the big games, the finals, the semifinals of tournaments or playoffs, those big games, I would always be ready and show up and either score or help the team win, right? So I've always felt comfortable with my back against the wall, I guess you could say. So when that happened and my back was really against the wall, I really just told myself, like, uh, I like to tell myself a lot, like, I ain't no bitch, like, just go and do it. So that was really my mindset, was just get back out there and make it better than it was before, and put your head down at work. And even this summer, I've been getting so many like messages saying like, yo, can you come hang out? You want to go golf? You want to do this? But it's come so far in these past 7 months that I'm like, I don't have time right now, like I'm just focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's getting where I want to be.
I love that, dude. And that, honestly, like, it's kind of crazy. And this is where I think you separate people, right? Because like this is where some people can't relate. This is where some people are like, that really is inspiring. Because I think when you get to that tipping point, that next level, it's like you have to make that commitment. You have to say, I'm going to sacrifice a lot of things that I could be doing that would be fun now, but I've got such a bigger vision for where this could go, and I know what it takes to get there. So I've got to eliminate those things, and I think that's what it separates people, because a lot of people, the majority of people, aren't willing to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, like, you're working usually 12-hour days, maybe more. When you, especially when you start your own company and getting it rolling, you're working pretty much the whole day. And even if you go and you have some family thing to do, you can go do it. Especially for me, it's a little easier. I can just post on my phone. So I still try to make time for my family and that sort of thing. But even my friends, like my close friends, I've had the same close 4 or 5 friends since high school, and we're like family too, right? So I make time for them too. But it's been a lot harder this summer, just focusing on what I wanted to do and getting where I want to go. Because at the end of the day, the only one who's going to do it is you. So if you don't put the work in, then it's not going to go anywhere, right? And people don't realize the sacrifices you need to make to get there, and the amount of work that it actually takes. People just want the glitz and glamour without going through the grind.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, they see where you are now, and they're like, man, I want that overnight. Like, that must be nice. It must be cool to be, at that level, or to have that much success. But they don't see the last 7 months of you literally working every single day, even the weekends, over 12 hours a day. They don't see that. And they don't think about that. And it's just hard, man. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, the all they see is like I don't even use my personal Instagram really. I just post like if I'm with my friends and they tag me, I'll reshare the story. But like other than that, I don't really post on my personal one. So if I do post, it'll be like me at the Blue Jays game or like me at a sporting event, and people are probably like in their head thinking, oh, like I wonder if he knows someone on the team that got him tickets or something. But I'm really just there because I like sports, you know. So um there have been times where I've been there and guys have helped me get tickets or brought me out to games, but that comes with 4 or 5 years of building up to this point, grinding, making connections, and reaching out to really almost every athlete possible.
Yeah. All right, let's dive in kind of a tactical, segment of this, because I think this is where you can be lethal and very valuable to this episode, is like talking about you've got firsthand experience with success and building a brand, a media platform online. I want to know best practices just kind of off the bat, what you've seen work, what you've seen like been the most successful things that you've done to get to this point.
I'd say a lot of our like playlist takeovers or day in the life of athletes or artists, a lot of people tend to like stuff that they can see the players or the artists doing throughout their day because it gives them more insight into their personal life, right? A lot of people only see the music releases or the shows or the performances on the court or whatever it is, but they don't really know the personal side of the players or the artists. And I feel like if you can get them to do that sort of stuff, then they'll be people enjoy seeing it, right? Because they want to feel closer to the players and the artists and that sort of thing. So I feel like if you can get like the personal side of that, that works well. And honestly, relatable content goes a long way. If people can relate to it, they'll like it regardless of if it's their sport or type of music. As long as they can relate to it, that works. I found, especially these past 7 months, that works very well.
That's a really interesting point. And this is something like as I've been kind of like looking at AIM and stuff we're doing, like when you get into business, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. You might disagree or you might agree with me, but I feel like you can't do it for yourself and it can't be about you. Like the best businesses, if you look across like the world, right, are businesses that they're in business to serve other people and find what other people need and like solving that solution. And so like when you create relatable content, essentially what you're doing is you're creating content that other people need.
Right. Yeah. You the content that you need to post is stuff that people can relate to, people want to see, and it's not just like we were talking about before we started. A lot of people just post straight news, which you can find the news anywhere these days with all social media platforms, and it's not very hard to just make a little graphic and post the news. So you need to find some stuff that stands out a little more, and people can relate to it. So news works, but it's definitely not going to work as well as say a post where you get someone to comment the worst thing a coach has told them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. What would you say was the biggest difference? Like, did you see a huge difference in the way you were posting or your strategy from um, the second account? Obviously, it took you said about 4 years to grow that first one, and then in 7 months, you've literally doubled the size of the second account. So, what was the big difference there?
I think I took some time to kind of reassess what we were posting and see if we could speed it up a little bit. So I spent a lot of time on TikTok, honestly, because TikTok's really popular right now, and a lot of people come up with some really funny shit on TikTok. So I kind of programmed my algorithm on TikTok to only show me music and sports posts, which you can do just by liking those posts, and it'll automatically start filling your algorithm with that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So I did that and went to a lot of the popular TikToks that would pop up on my feed to see what what they were doing or what they were posting that was getting them all these views. So I realized maybe we should post some more of those, and post some more relatable stuff too, because a lot of it was relatable, or it was like skits about an athlete, or some music stuff, which people like seeing, right? Because they don't see that all the time, especially on Instagram. On Instagram, a lot of people just post straight news. There's not much other content. And I was like, well, why don't I just try and use some of these videos and post it on our Instagram, because their Instagram's really promoting reels, and they want to start turning it into a more content-based platform. Even with IGTV and that sort of thing, they want to start making that more relevant than just the photos. So when I saw the reels come in, I was like, you know what, it's a perfect time. Let's just try it out, see what happens. And one of the first ones I posted was it was at a Carolina Hurricanes game, actually. And some guy had an ice cream cone, and he was just standing there looking at his buddy's phone. And some guy comes behind him and snags his ice cream, eats it, and then he tries to put it back, but the guy turns around and almost catches him. So he just does a quick turn and keeps eating the ice cream and walks away. And that post blew up. Like, I think it has like 4 million views or something on our account. And ever since then, I was just like, it looks like it worked. So I'm just going to keep posting stuff that I feel will do well like that. And it's worked pretty well, honestly.
I love that, dude. You actually, this is funny. You'll like this. I don't know if you knew the connection, but you actually posted a guy that I know recently, Bjorn Brummond. He's a good friend of one of my good friends, and so I met him through a friend. But he's awesome. He's been crushing it on TikTok and growing.
Yeah.
His content's awesome, bro. And like, I love to see you and other platforms kind of promoting that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. I saw his stuff a while ago, and I think this was like just before his TikTok started blowing up, because I talked to him a couple times. Because with this new account, I make sure I go and ask everyone permission, right? And get permission to post their content, because
Right.
that's a big thing these days. Because a lot of people get upset if you don't ask permission, or if you post it and you don't credit them, which I've never been into that. I feel like if they're going to make the content, you got to give them the credit of making the content. So I've always credited people, but I make sure now to reach out, whether it's a comment on TikTok and they reply, or a DM on Instagram after. I usually give it a couple days and I'll circle back and DM the Instagram after if they don't answer on TikTok. But yeah, I just I don't even know, honestly. I
Yeah.
just
It's cool. Yeah, and I think with your platform, obviously you have a ton of different types of content, but the content where you are able to give people credit, and it's like you're promoting other people, which is awesome. Like you're helping
right.
other people grow their brand. So I mean, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yes, yeah. It's really a win-win for both people, right? Because they get posted, and if the video does well, they'll get the followers too, because they got the credit to the video, and it helps us too because it helps us grow at the same time. But those ones do well, but I like mixing in our own content too, videos that we do with athletes and that sort of thing, because it gives people a wide range of variety, right? You got custom content, and then you got the relatable content, and then you got the news content. So they really get everything they want to see.
For sure, no doubt. So what's your frequency right now? Like your daily posting? How many times are you posting per day at this point?
It usually varies per day, but I'd say it's within 16 to 20 a day. So I usually start uh about 10 a.m. I'll start posting about 10 a.m. Especially because in the morning people are half asleep. They're not going to pay attention. They're just focused on getting to work on time, right? So I usually start about 10 because people start waking up, and it's almost lunchtime for them. So if they don't see it right away, they'll see it on lunch, and start at 10. And basically every 45 minutes to an hour, I'm posting another video or content in general. And I do that all the way until about 1:30, 2 a.m. And the last post usually about 1:30, 2 a.m. And after that, I'll spend an hour and a half looking for more content or more relatable content to post, or just DMing people in general to connect and do some work with them.
That's interesting you say that. So this is something that I'm trying to definitely do now. You know, like we talked about this on your podcast, but now that basketball's out of the picture, like I'm able to travel more, I'm able to connect more. There's obviously the rules are a lot looser. There are no rules.
Yeah.
I'm not under the rules anymore. So what does your outreach look like? I know you do a lot of collaborations. You've done a lot of work with different people. I think that's something we want to get into. How do you structure that system?
Basically, well, I came up with the ideas of the collaborations we wanted to do, um, like I'd say like 2 or 3 years ago. This was when I was really just starting to take it serious. I told myself, like, you need to come up with ideas that athletes are going to want to do, especially when you're starting out and nobody knows you, and no one's worked with you before. So I came up with the Instagram takeover, the playlist takeover. Live Q&As were a big one once COVID hit, because everyone was at home. The YouTube stuff, went and bought a GoPro just to film some YouTube stuff. So when guys would come here for G League games or whatever, I'd meet them at the hotel the night before. We'd film some stuff, and do that sort of content. But you really need to come up with your own stuff that fits your brand and is gonna make people want to be a part of it. And a lot of the athletes love doing all these things that we've come up with. So it's worked out well, and you can tell the more people do it, or the more athletes or artists do it, you get a lot more responses after, like, the more you reach out to people, because they see, especially on Instagram, you can keep them in your moments tab on the top, right? So if anyone has any questions, who's done work for you or that sort of thing, you can just redirect them to your moments, and they'll go through the tabs, and you, I'd say like 95, 99% of the time they're coming back saying, oh, you've done work with a lot of athletes and some pretty big people, so let's do it. So if you keep those moments available for people to see, it's pretty much like a resume, right? They see what you've done and who you've worked with.
No, I love that. I think it's true. I mean, that's just kind of how life goes, and it's crazy. Like you can be a great dude, hard worker, but you know, people want to see who you know, and they want to, they want to work with the best. So that's awesome. Like you've had some awesome people. I've enjoyed kind of, getting into some of the stuff that you guys have done.
Yeah, and I've tried not to focus only on pro athletes, because I know everyone wants to see the pro athletes, and so do I, honestly. But they're a lot busier, right? They got busy schedules, especially in season. Their off seasons are all pretty short because they're jam packed full of stuff they've been planning probably since the off season before. So you need to find ways to fill gaps when you can't get those guys. And I find doing like the junior hockey players, NCAA athletes, even like the guys in the minors, the G League, the AHL, even the Canadian Football League up here. You really just got to try and get anyone to showcase them, because you're helping them at the same time grow their platform as well, and people get to see them a little more instead of just the pro athletes all the time.
Yeah, dude, that makes a ton of sense. Kind of wrapping this thing up, I've got, one thing I really want to know is where are you guys headed? What are your goals? Like, are there new things you're trying to step into, or is this something you just want to double down on content creation and just keep scaling?
So I really, right now, I'm just really focusing on um, continuing to grow the account. I feel like once you hit that 100,000 mark, uh, people take you a lot more serious. So I'm really focusing on getting that number there, and not stopping there. Obviously, I'm going to keep going once I get there, but I'm trying to get there, and eventually I want to partner with an athlete and an artist, have someone on both sides of the industries so that we can really take this to the next level. Because I have a ton of ideas that I want to do, but I'm just kind of keeping them in my back pocket for now until we get to that point. Because we've already had people try to take some ideas and run with it, right? So you don't want to put it out there too early where people can come and try and snatch your ideas, especially the bigger platforms or pages, which I've seen some of them try and do already.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I think you got it. Like scaling and growing, like that's going to be, the best thing for you. It's going to open up the most opportunities. And it's been cool to see what you guys have done so far, man. I'm excited to keep watching the journey.
Yeah, I'm hoping it just keeps riding and keep growing. That I got a lot more I want to do, so I just really focus on putting my head down and getting to work and the mindset right. Your mindset has to be a lot different, especially to start your business.
No question. And honestly, that's kind of like the last thing I want to talk to you about as we kind of wrap this up, man. This has been a really, really good episode, but I wanted you to dive in because this is something that, I think you'll bring a lot of value to, is just talking about like what your mindset looks like day in, day out, kind of the highs, the lows, how you navigate, how you, overcame the struggles and just being an entrepreneur. Like talk to me about that.
Yeah, so when you start out your business, you, honestly, through like the more you do your business, the more you learn and can kind of program your mindset to get in the right mindset. But when you're starting out, it's really a grind because you when you start, you just want the results, right? You put in the work, but you're just focused on the results and growing and that sort of thing. So you'll have days where you're down on yourself, or you're kind of like, is this really what I want to do? But I feel like, especially being an athlete my whole life, I feel like that competitiveness in me has never left. So anytime there's a challenge, I get a little extra pep in my step because I'm just that competitive, right? I want to win in anything I do. So having a business it's challenging, but it's more of a challenge to actually get it going and get it running. So I took that challenge personally. Honestly, I took a page from MJ and took it personally to take it where I want to go and make sure I get it there. So you really have to teach yourself how to just put your head down, get to work. And I feel like a lot of stuff, like people go through stuff in life that also adds to their motivation, right? Like I know on our podcast, we talked about your dad and my dad as well. And my dad left when I was in grade 7. So I think that's what, like 11 years old, something like that.
Mhm.
So my parents split up, and basically he wasn't part of my life until last year. So when you have a single mom and you see the amount of work they put in
No,
and how hard they work, it hits you different, and you mature a lot faster, I feel like, than other kids would. So when that happened, and I see the work that she puts in, um, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to make sure I worked just as hard as her, and eventually could take care of her, right? Because for, I guess, almost 20 years, maybe 20 something years, she took care of us. Or no, like 17 years, something like that. She took care of me and my sister, right? And we saw how hard she worked. So that gave me a little extra motivation, um, especially when I started out. And even with my dad coming back in my life, like I think it's been like a year and a half now. When he came back and you really find out the details about all of it, that could take some motivation away, right? Because everything you've thought uh, was to be true might not be true, and that motivation might disappear a little bit. So when that happened, you had to find a way. I had to find a way to get that motivation back a little bit. And getting your mind right, I feel like it is very important. I spent a lot of time watching Kobe, studying Kobe, the way he went about everything. Tom Brady, my favorite team's the Patriots. Like the first football game I watched was Tom's first football game. And seeing his career and his mentality, you kind of got to take some of their mentality and implement it into your own, because you see the success that you can get with it. And really their mentality is all about winning, right? And that's really what business comes down to. You want to win, and it's competitive too. So I treat it just like as if I'm playing another sport. You got to stay competitive, you got to stay persistent, you got to stay hungry. And those days you don't want to do anything, you got to make sure you're still doing something, because that's going to separate you from everyone else who takes those days off.
Dude, that was incredible, bro. That was a motivational Monday right there. That was lit. Hey, but it's true, man. It really is. And I think that's what you can do is like just you look at the best people, you look at people who've been successful and you emulate it and you put in the work. And that's really what it comes down to, getting your mindset fixed first and then just putting in the work. It's not, I think people overcomplicate it. It's not hard. You just have to do it. You have to commit to it and you have to believe in yourself. So you've been an incredible guest, dude. This has been such a blast jumping back on with you, man. I'm glad to reconnect with you and see you're doing well. And thank you again for being on the AIM podcast.
Yeah, anytime, brother. Anything you need, I'm just one text away.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah, we got your back 100% the way too, man. We can't wait to see you keep growing. Never stop. I know you won't. I know you'll keep grinding, and I love to see it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir.